Hey, hi, hello, friend. So today we are bringing back a guest. Cristina Van Epps is an amazing aerospace engineer, legit trying to send things to Mars, a prolific podcaster who loves to research cults, cryptids, and conspiracies, and a devoted D&D player who plays pretend with our favorite roleplay mates on I Seduce The Dragon. She's the second guest that we brought back for a threesome because we had such an amazing time the first go-round that we had to bring her back for seconds. We immediately jumped into what sex is and then kept going. We talked about how identity can shape attraction or lack thereof. We also talked about the different types of attraction and how they can shape how we see ourselves versus how we see others and vice versa. This was one of my favorite conversations so far this season, and we hope you enjoy listening to our chat as much as we had having it. Welcome to Season 7 of the Queer Consciousness Podcast. I'm Kit Sargent, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Jess Grace Garcia, and my pronouns are they, them. We're just humans wanting to share the lived experience of other humans.
This season, we're talking about all things sex. We want to have deep, heart-led conversations as we unpack what sex means to us and why it's so important to talk about it.
This is a season of unlearning, relearning, and sharing about a topic that is still considered taboo.
Because at the end of the day, we are all spiritual, sexual beings having a human experience, walking each other home. Cristina Van Epps, welcome back.
Hello.
To Queer Consciousness.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited for this conversation, mainly because Cristina is a good friend, and we had such a fantastic conversation the last time she was on that I had to bring her back, mainly because she said something. I know for a fact she does not remember saying it because it was after the podcast had already stopped recording and we were just chatting, and I went, we need to put a pin in that. So we will come back to that conversation. But before then,
wow, Kit, what a tease.
Hello, have you met me?
Yeah, I have. I do love a tease. I do love a tease.
You do. You really do. And it's very entertaining. I'm not going to lie. But
I also want to apologize in advance if I keep getting distracted by your mug because it's very good. The gender fluid mug.
That's fantastic, right?
It's so good. I love that so much. Sorry. I may keep just like staring at it. Apologies in advance.
Cristina, how many mugs do you have?
Too many mugs. I can't say I use all of them because some of them go in the cupboard and then I can't see them, so I forget they're there. But there are
out of sight, out of
many
mind.
a mug in my house. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was recently asking for like a mug shelf because we just have too many mugs and we still want to buy more mugs. It's like always a thing. Like it's like, but we can't because we don't have the space for the mug. And yeah, this one was given to me. This one was a gift from my friend Heather, who's also basically my sibling. I call her my sibling.
I love Heather.
And
that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's so perfectly me. And what's funny is I'm wearing like all green right now. I have like light green shorts on and this green shirt.
We're very
and I got a green mug.
Kit, you need to get good. I don't see enough green on you right now.
Mhm.
I can go change. Like my closet is 2.5 steps away. Like I literally can go put on a green sweater right now if I so need to. I will do that.
If we demand uniformity of greenness.
Absolutely. I will absolutely 1,000% do that. You think I'm kidding? Just go ahead and say, Kit, go change. And I'll be like, give me 2 seconds. Hold on.
What? Speaking of green, Cristina, what color, what hair dye do you use? Because that is almost the exact same tint that my wife has.
Kit was saying this about the green-haired people in their life.
Yeah.
I use Ero brand, if you're familiar. It comes in like a little, get it at Sally Beauty. Comes in a little foil pouch.
No,
I make a weird concoction of greens. And
they also make a weird concoction.
Yeah, you just got to make your own personal flavor of green and then let nature do what it will with it.
That's great. I cannot remember. I think it has a fox on the label. I don't remember the
Arctic
name.
Fox. I know that
Arctic
one.
Fox, yeah.
I used to use Arctic Fox. I had a very bad experience where I tried to go, because this is a complete deviation. Hello, everyone. I'm taking over the podcast. We're not talking about whatever Kit wanted to talk about. I'm here to say something else.
I'll absolutely sub this.
I went to a friend's wedding, one of my best friends, and I was both the bridesmaid and the officiant. And the dresses that they had picked for this wedding were a very lovely, like light sage green, which clashed horribly with my hair. And I was like, okay, I want to maintain the brand, but also I can't do this with those colors because it will just look horrible. So let me go like a forest green. I'll go like a dark green. That'll look great. Eero, my go-to hair dye brand, does not have a dark green. They do now. They didn't at the time. But Arctic Fox did. So I'm like, perfect. I will use this. Came out lovely. Came out looking fantastic. Bled on everything. For the next like 3 weeks, everything my head touched came away with like a dark green smear on it.
Oh, no.
And I could do nothing about it other than just try and wash it out faster. Oh, no.
Wow, that does not happen to my partners. God. Yeah. No, I think that the forest green, I think my wife had to do something similar just because of the colors we chose for our wedding kind of shifted as well. But she likes that. I know my wife Jana likes that with hers. It like slowly, it changes over time, like the color obviously, but it's not a bad change. It doesn't feel like she has to quickly dye again, you know?
Yeah, it'll fade out, but it does so in a way that it's not like a gross color.
Yes,
I had
exactly
that problem with, I used to do pink before this, and the pink would fade out into like a kind of weird, like nude peach color that I was not about.
That's so, okay, wait up. I'm pulling up a picture really fast. I'm the one that edits this, so I can cut this out if I want to.
It's very true.
We've fully hijacked the podcast.
Fully.
Hey, I told you, I'm okay with being a sub right now. Like, I'm absolutely in subspace. Yep. I am so happy. I'm living. I'm thriving.
Erica did a peach color before she did the green as well. This was...
Oh, but that's cute.
Yeah.
I think that's cute because that's kind of corally also. It's like a little bit.
But she had to be the one that, I think she mixed that amongst several different things. I know her like, to finish out this conversation, she did her most recent green. They're not making anymore, and that's what she's upset about.
That's heartbreaking. I can fully understand that. Yeah.
So they're going to have to get creative.
Godspeed. I hope that they can find what they need out there or make it. I've been saying Godspeed so much to people. So
I love it.
It's
So here's the question: do you believe in God?
No.
That's my favorite. Is like Erica doesn't necessarily believe in like a God, like, and she often will say, "The baby tried to meet Jesus" because she's a NICU nurse, and I'm like, you don't even believe.
Listen, it's evocative language. That's all that matters. Is like when I say Godspeed, you know what I mean. You mean that I am like, I'm hoping and praying for you.
Yes.
Good luck, little soldier.
Yes.
Peace and
love
peace.
it.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
That's fantastic.
All right. I'm taking the reins back. Hello. I'm in charge.
Okay.
Switch.
Hey, that's where we live. So since we have obviously bantered our way into this conversation, mainly because I love listening to two people that I am highly attracted to in all of the ways talk, and I will just sit here and listen and thrive. We're just going to get right into it.
You're adorable. I love when asexual people say stuff like that. That's my favorite.
Well, funnily enough, the reason why I said that is twofold. One, because Cristina, if you have felt your ears burning last Thursday, it was because Jess and I were talking about you. So I'm sorry. Also not sorry. But we were having dinner with a friend. A new friend for me, an old friend for Jess. And so we were just talking about different people that we've had on the podcast. And both of us were like, Cristina was one of our favorite guests. Mainly because of, one, I was so thrilled that you actually agreed to come on and have a conversation because I knew that it was going to be absolutely fantastic. And the depth to which we went was absolutely brilliant. And I loved it. And you are one of the prime examples of when Jess and I talk about the types of conversations that we want to have on this podcast. We're like, go listen to the episode with Cristina Van Epps and you will understand exactly why we do what we're doing.
Aww.
And the other one was because we were talking about different types of attraction, because that was one of the topics that we had talked about in our conversation.
Yes.
And one of the examples that I gave was, well, I have an incredibly emotional attraction to Jess, mainly because I know them as well as I do. We have a very similar understanding of how we value relationships, how we value each other, how we value friendships, how we relate to the world. And we both come from a very heart-led place. And then I was talking about you, and I was like, and I have an incredibly intellectual attraction to Cristina because she is absolutely one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And I will let her info dump on me forever. And I will just sit there and go, please keep talking. And I'll be thriving the entire time.
Well, I'm glad that has a good audience. I'm glad I can provide what you need with my rants about random crap.
Kit's making all of us blush.
It's a good time. I love doing it. So, that being said, my very adorable friends and highly intellectually people that I love, Cristina, what does sex mean to you?
A lot of things. I think that fundamentally it is I was about to say that. It's very much like it's the question about like, how do you define porn? And there's the dude I can't remember if it was the Senate or the Supreme Court who was like, you'll know it when you see it. Because it means so many different things to different people. And this is like a definition that people fight about, like what counts as sex. I think that ultimately it is a intimate experience shared between people that usually involves your genitalia in some way, in some fashion, whether or not they are touching or whether or not everybody is, getting off or whatever, like that is up for debate. But I think that if you are going into a scenario with another person or people and you're like, I'm gonna get some feel good genitalia things happening right now, I think that counts as sex.
This is true. This is accurate. I love how different everyone's answers are.
It is. And still, the through line with every single one of our guests up until this point has been, it has everything to do with an intentional connection between two consenting adults.
That's right.
For sure.
That has been the absolute baseline definition, where if you could just sum it up
to consensual.
At minimum, correct, yes. At minimum, two consensual adults consenting to a intimate connection, however they want to define that as.
Yep.
Yeah. Like if we had to boil it down to just that has been the through line in every single one of our conversations up until now.
Well, yeah, because I mean, at the heart of it, I think the one I won't even use the term pushback. I'll just say the one thing that I would think of as an alternate to what Cristina was suggesting is, phone sex and someone not touching themselves. Like, I think that can still happen.
But again, like,
and still be considered sex.
I'm saying that like genitalia is involved, not necessarily that you are touching it.
You're aware of it, right?
If you're getting like a tingly good feeling down there, I think that still counts.
You're right.
I think that still counts a little bit. But then some people will say like, because there is like a difference between, like titillation and excitement and like flirting and then like sex. And the lines are not strictly defined because there are so many different factors at play with it. Like there are, it's very much, again, it's like a when you see it thing where like you can look at like a situation and be like, oh yeah, this feels like sex, and then look at something else and be like, no, this ain't it. It's something that is so different depending upon who is involved.
Yeah. We're having such a positive conversation, so I apologize if I take this in a slightly negative place. But I think it's part of what like upsets me about, when someone is assaulted, that someone would call it sex. Because I'm like, because I see it, like you said, Kit, like two consenting adults at minimum, and it's like, it's like, yeah, if someone's not consenting in that, then I don't think we can call that, like, because sex feels like to me like this good word, like this good experience, and it feels like you're saying it's consensual. So I feel like it needs to be called the word that is a triggering word. And that way it's straight up like, no, this was not something that everyone was in on, you know? And I feel like that's, I don't know, maybe that's why it's always bugged me when that word is being used instead. When sex is being used instead.
Because I agree with you on that. Like, for sure, like, it does feel like there should be a delineation between the wording, like how we describe it. I think that from a very clinical, like, if you're looking at pure denotation versus connotation description, like, obviously things get a little bit more black and white at that front about, like, okay, legally, what are we defining? Or, like, for a medical purposes or whatever, what are we defining as this act, as this process?
Yeah.
But when we're speaking culturally and in, like, everyday language, all of these words come with so many layers of connotation that we built into them. And I fully agree that, like, the word sex has a connotation to it of, like, this is, again, at minimum, a process that people have agreed to participate in. Like, ideally an enjoyable process, but not necessarily for everyone, but at the very least something that they have agreed to participate in. Otherwise, it's a different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you, and hopefully you again, if you feel uncomfortable with going here, we can totally go a different direction. But when in your journey of, like, kind of discovering who you are sexually, did you kind of come across, like, asexuality as an option, as something that might be more true for you? Or did you know that it was true without having a word earlier on? Like, can you tell us a little bit about your story when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think, like, this is something that Kit and I sort of talked about before, but, like, when it comes to specifically talking about, like, the sex part of sexuality, a lot of that came with the, like, because I came from a background, like, I was freaking North Carolina sex ed, bro. We are talking about pregnancy. We are talking about STDs. We are talking about how you will die if you have premarital sex. So don't even think about it.
You are Mean Girls.
Somebody literally, this is like a core memory of mine. Someone in my sex ed class in high school asked, "Can you get pregnant from oral sex?" And the teacher said, "That's something you should talk to your parents about."
Okay.
And that's where I was at. So, like, when it comes to the variety of other options beyond, like, the heteronormative center, I was like, I knew that you could be, like, I was like, yeah, I know bisexuality exists. I know what gay is. Those are things that are out there and they're fine. Beyond that, I was lost in the woods there. So, like, there were signs that in hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But also, when I was trying to figure myself out, there's another element that comes into play here, funnily enough, which is the fact that I have aphantasia also, which means
I always
that
forget about that with you.
Yeah, I can't form mental images. I don't form mental images when I'm imagining things. And so there was a time period where when I was in high school, I had a very, very good friend who I loved hanging out with him. I loved being around him. And in my brain was like, okay, this is checking the boxes that, like, the criteria I have made. Because again, this sounds like an alien trying to navigate human experience, where it's like, based off of other testimonials and pop culture references, I have made this criteria for what a crush is. And this appears to be checking those boxes. So I think I have a crush on this man. I think that's what's happening. And then, like, the next logical step is to be like, am I attracted to him? Like, what does that mean? But I was unable to form in my mind what I defined as, like, exciting images of him. Like, I couldn't in my head envision this person in, like, a titillating way. And I think it was a factor at the time of me being like, A, not actually physically being attracted to him, and B, not actually being able to create mental images, which is a thing that I thought no one did. I thought it was just like a turn of phrase until, funnily enough, Joss Hutcherson did a very specific interview for the movie, the Hunger Games, and that is what clued me in on, like, wait, people are making mental images? Hold on. So I think both of those were early signs to me that I was like, okay, something's not quite, something's amiss here. Like, why is this not working? Why is this not the next logical step? And especially because, you know, as friends do, friends will often make kind of like funny, stupid, horny comments to each other about other people, especially about like actors or fictional characters. And like that is just the way that human beings often are. And that is the way that my friends often were, of like talking about like, God, I love this character, they're so good, or like, God, I love this actor, he's so hot. And I was so used to that, and that was so normalized that like that was language I also used to describe people that I enjoyed, even though I didn't realize I wasn't having the same experience as other people yet. Up until I was in college, and thankfully I went to college in San Francisco, California, otherwise known as like the queer hotbed of the United States.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where you have to search kind of hard to find a straight person in my little area that I was in.
Yep.
So when I was there, I was exposed to a lot more options of, like, hey, this option exists, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't know about that. Tell me more about this option. And then like the more it was described, it's like, oh, okay, that applies to me a lot, huh?
Your entire life has been one giant research project of your own existence.
Literally, yes. Literally, yes. I don't know if I mentioned to you the early research I did as a kid into like appropriate childhood crushes.
No, you did. It was great. And I was absolutely amazed by it, especially because of, and this is where at the beginning of our conversation before we actually got into the podcast, I told you, I'm like, I'm going to try so hard not to sound like an absolute stalker because of how many episodes you have posted on Cults, Cryptids, and Conspiracies about your lived experience, because it was 7 years, and you like the growth that I'm like, this is just something that I observed because this is how my brain works. When you were talking about different things that you had been experiencing in your past based on whatever topic you guys are talking about in that particular episode, it was very entertaining for me, because I would be like, oh, then I'll just file that away for a different conversation. Oh, I'll just file that away. Because they were just so offhanded comments. They were just like 1 or 2 or 3 sentences of just you being like, yeah, so I remember doing this. And I'd be like, my brain damn it. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to try.
Little flags popping up of like,
all over the place.
That's a behavior, isn't it?
And so it was very entertaining to me to hear you share about all of your lived experiences up until this point. And I was like, you have such a scientific mind, and it is so intriguing to me. And that's why I'm like, just go ahead and talk. I'll just sit here and watch your adorable face. Just talk about all of the things, and I will just be thriving the entire time going, oh my God, this is so great.
You're so sweet to me.
That's why for me it was very entertaining, because of the fact that I'm like, oh, but the thing that you do that most people don't is you get curious about your own understanding, where it's like, explain that to me, and then explain it some more, and then explain it a little bit more. And then I'm going to take all of that information that you just gave me, and I'm going to go do my own research, and I'm going to go look up things, and I am going to go find things, and I'm going to go talk to people, and I'm going to get 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 12th, 15th, 20th opinions about all of the things that you have just told me.
Review my sexuality.
No, absolutely. Yes. You're going to peer review it, and then you're going to scientifically review it, and then you're going to do all of the other reviewing, and then you're going to be like,
That's why I like to joke, like to say that, like, with Erica, like my wife Erica is so similar, asexual, great ace, and like thinks that way.
I just had a realization about myself. It's fine.
Likes to research in that way. We'll get there in 2 seconds.
Finding out some stuff about yourself, Kit.
And every day,
all the time. I whenever I'm worried that like I'm gonna come to a place of understanding before she does, like about something that has to do either with us or like with her, like for example the ace thing. Me and our wife Jana came to her and said, we think you might be on the ace spectrum. Do you think that might be a thing? And she said no. And literally the next day, after she had been up all night researching, she came to us with very specific things we'd never heard of. Gray ace flux. She was like, this is what I am. She knew all the things. She was answering all the questions. She was way ahead of us now.
It's the kind of like, what are you talking about thing? And then the second that is like, well, now I need to look into what this is. And the second you do like a little bit of research, you're like, yeah, no, this seems right actually, huh?
But instead of it being like, you're right, it's like, you were wrong, but this is what is correct. Like, you were close. But let me tell you what is actually the details, the correct thing. And it's like, okay, baby. Yes. That I'm here to learn. That happens all the time. All the time. And it cracks me up. And it's also comforting because
for sure.
I'm a slow processor. I'm a slow researcher. I like to take my time getting used to an idea of something. And she might resist at first or like be not ready to do something. And then the minute that she does, she's like, she's done a ton of research and she's way ahead of me. And I'm like, I take comfort in that will always be true about the way that she processes. Even if we process entirely differently, I'm not going to be like going like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I should say for our audio podcast folks, dragging someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, from my personal experience, it wasn't like a hard cut from like, I could perceive myself as a heteronormative, like cisgendered woman to like, oh, I am a asexual cisgendered woman.
No.
There was like the in-between time of like me defining as demisexual for a little bit.
Sure.
Because that seemed to be more in line with like the things that I had perceived myself as. And it took a while for me to unpack that, like, yeah, in hindsight, a lot of the behaviors that I was performing were because they were learned behaviors or they were what I assumed to be like normal behaviors. And in fact, like I was play acting a lot of these things, assuming that's just how people were. And then it's like, no, people don't intentionally do this stuff. Like this is for a lot of people automatic behaviors. You are intentionally doing them. So that's different.
I had a hard time coming down to the label demi for myself, only because I veer more to the hypersexual side of the spectrum, and all of my demi friends were closer to the ace side. And so it was, and it's under the ace umbrella. And so it was a little confusing for me because I was like, well, that can't be me because I'm not ace. And so, but no, demi is one of the best ways to describe how I'm attracted to people. Like I'm attracted through energy and, personality and, spirituality, not, like, yes, there are physical things that I find attractive, but the best example that I give to explain how I am not solely based on physical attraction is that someone who I definitely crushed on hard as a, semi-celebrity, I ended up meeting and working with years and years later. And this person, like within seconds, I was like, oh, friend energy. And immediately I went from this is a person that I crushed on hardcore in a physical way to suddenly, boom, nope, friend energy. We're friends.
Yeah.
We're buds. We're
the
pals
second
now.
that you actually met them and interacted with them, it completely changed the dynamic in your head. Yeah.
Completely. And so that was just, that is just like a perfect, like summarized version of like so many other interactions that I've had that kind of tell me like, oh yeah, that, and then we figured out the word reciprosexual that is kind of helpful for defining how I connect with people. Like I tend to crush back on people, not crush on someone first.
That makes sense. I can see that for sure.
But
I don't know if I mentioned to you, Kit, last time we were talking, my multidimensional Cartesian plane of sexuality, that I define it because I do very much view like the different types of attraction as being separate from having like a libido and like the strength of sexual drive.
Sure.
Because one is like they're definitely linked and one can trigger the other, but one is very much more of like a physiological hormone reaction than like the emotional or more possibly like intellectual or more, like you said, spiritual connection. Like you can be attracted to somebody and they make you horny, but you can also just get horny for no reason. Like that happens all the time.
I just had this conversation with my wife Jana because I was describing why I was having like I was being down in the dumps on my trip to Minneapolis this last week, during the moments that I was alone. And
Which weren't that many.
Weren't that many, guys. Come on. Like, this is ridiculous. I'll just be honest. Okay.
I mean, you maybe had a solid 24 hours of alone time.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Jess needs company. Jess needs company.
I know, because I spent 3 days with you.
Jess needs a buddy. Jess needs a pal. Okay? At all times. At all times.
Do not leave unattended.
It was getting yes, exactly. I am definitely the golden retriever of all of my cat relationships. Like, I am the annoying golden retriever that like shows up and is like, hi, love me now.
No, I view you more as the cheetah they have to give the golden retriever to at the zoo because it's too anxious on its own.
Thank you. I'm okay with that one. Cheetah.
Because a cheetah is still a cat.
Yes,
it's still a cat. It's just the golden retriever of cats.
And you need a buddy to make you less anxious at the zoo, for sure, 100%.
I don't want to live in a zoo. I'll live in the wild park, the San Diego Wild Park.
Oh, the safari park. Yeah.
Please.
I was thinking about those cheetahs because I grew up in San Diego also. So
okay, good.
Very familiar with the zoo.
That's, guys, get me out of the bars. Get me into the open, very, very open.
But do give you a friend.
Yes, but give me a friend. Okay. So
I'll come be your golden retriever.
So I was being a bit pouty, and if Jana was here, she would say a bit. Anyway, so that moment, I was like, we were having a conversation about like how I had wanted to move the conversation into like a sexy place, and then it didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, we spent an hour and a half kind of deconstructing what actually happened. And she ended up saying to me at one point, like, wait, so you were thinking about me and you were wanting to be around me, and then that led to you being horny? It wasn't just that you were horny and then you wanted those things? And I was like, yes, that's how I work. And she was like, whoa, wait a second. And then we had to go through it a couple more times. It was like, and she was like, okay, wait. So if you're sad and you're missing me, and then eventually you end up horny, it's because you started because you were thinking about, okay, that's interesting. And I was like, how do you work? And we've been together 5 years, and we're we're like breaking down like how then, and so you saying like intellectual attraction and like emotional attraction, these things can lead to becoming horny, and also you could just be horny. And so it was just, when you said that, I was just thinking about how much that explains sometimes the disconnect, because Jana has alexithymia. And have you heard of that, Christina? Siri or Alexa, I'm sorry, I said your name. Did you hear her say that's okay? Okay. So
AIs are going to take over the world.
I know, it's freaky. But this basically means that you can't immediately name your emotions. Basically.
Okay.
So like you have an emotion, but you don't know you're having it until like you kind of sort out like, or someone around you goes like, hey, why'd you slam that door? Or, hey, you seem down in the dumps. Do you know what's going on? And they're like, oh, you're right, I do.
I wonder how that manifests with other, I think it's called proprioception, like your ability to perceive yourself.
Yes.
Other, because I
They're
know
linked
that
for
I
sure.
have. Yeah, it sounds like they very much would be, because I know that I have a bunch of issues with proprioception from the neurodivergent side of things, with like not realizing that I'm hungry, or not realizing where I am in space, and running into door frames all of the time. Like,
you and my wife Erica need to meet. You are literally it's weird.
That was the realization that I had. That was the realization that I had. I was like, why am I attracted to both Erica and Cristina in somewhat of the same type of way?
Because it turns out we're the same person, is what it sounds like. It turns out, it sounds like we are in fact the same person.
I often describe my wife Erica as a genius. Like, she went to a really a really incredible school. She went to Hopkins after she went to Scripps. Like she's a NICU nurse. She's brilliant. And so it makes sense that Kit describes you similarly. And that was
also the same reason why when we were sitting in your guys' house and Erica was giving me a 15-book TBR that I had to listen to, I was not mad about it, and not even in the slightest.
I have the cutest photo of Kit just sitting there like
just staring at Erica as she was talking. No, and that's exactly what it is. And I was like, why is this feeling so familiar? And it's because I had been listening to Cristina for the last 5 months talk on her podcast, and I was like, I love this feeling. Just go ahead and keep talking forever. It was there. I was like, oh, this is great.
Hey, listeners of Queer Consciousness. Clearly, you have excellent taste, so we wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Elise, they, them.
I'm Carrie, she, they, and together we created our podcast Proudly on Record to give a platform to queer stories as an act of resistance.
We would love to invite you to join our conversations with queer folks exploring the long-term effects of religious trauma, journeys of deconstruction, and the joy that comes from living life as your true, authentic self.
Lately, we've spoken with conversion therapy survivors, explored the sapphic drag queen scene, asked ex-Mormons how they survived without caffeine, and interrogated mental health experts on why. Just why?
So, if you've ever felt entitled to monetary compensation due to your religious trauma, or have ever wanted to waltz with potatoes up and down the produce aisle, have we got a show for you.
You can find Proudly on Record on all streaming platforms.
Now, back to our favorite theys, Jess and Kit.
Welcome, ladybugs and jelly beans, reptiles and crocodiles, to patreon.com/Queer Consciousness Podcast Race today. We have a wonderful field of horses that are all set up and ready to go. And they're off. In the lead is the community tier. This tier is eating up the track as it goes, giving you things like access to Kit's blogs, as well as a Patreon-exclusive conversation. It helps the podcast pay for things like the podcast feed and the recording setup. But close behind it is the producer tier. This tier pays Jess for all of their hard work on making this podcast sound as great as it is, as well as the video editing for YouTube. As they make a way down their backstretch, if you sign up at this tier, you'll get a shout-out at the end of the episode. They're rounding the last turn and coming down the home stretch. Making a break for it is the patron tier. They are closing the gap. This tier is the one that will help the podcast be able to give back to the queer community. And it is a three-way tie as they dive across the finish line. Thank you, ladybugs and jelly beans, reptiles and crocodiles, for coming to patreon.com/Queer Consciousness Podcast Race today. We hope you enjoy, and good luck to all the competitors.
What you're talking about is like this dichotomy again between different people's perceptions of their experience.
Yes.
And like what the human experience means. Mm-hmm. And like how we talk about that and the language we use. Because like I should not have gotten over 2 decades into my life not realizing other people made mental images. Like it's because it wasn't a thing that like people in my day-to-day explicitly talked about in like very specific terms. So there was enough wiggle room for me, and there was enough like vagary in that for me to assume that it was all just like a figure of speech, that was like, this is just how we talk about this experience of what's going on in our minds because we don't have better language for it. And similarly, there's just some experiences that we all have that we assume are universal. Like I love, there's a phrase that gets thrown around where like somebody makes a bold statement on Twitter or whatever, and somebody's like, your experiences are not universal. And I love saying that because like there's so many things that I experience and other people experience where it's like, hold on, is this just me? Is it just me having this like human experience? Is this not everyone? Okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, and it's a hard thing to wrap your head around that your wife is like into you for very different reasons. And like and it's also cool. So it's like entertaining the intellectual part of my brain that's like, oh, tell me more. That's really cool. I want to hear more about your experience with this. And then there's also like, but wait, you don't just think I'm hot?
Yeah.
Can we just think about what hot means in your mind so you can call me hot? Because I like being called hot. And so that was early on in me and Erica's relationship. The phrase "miss you," I miss you. I really wanted to hear "I miss you," but for her, she thought I was saying I need you here by my side right now, and I was like, "I miss you" can just be I thought of you, like I'm thinking of you. It doesn't mean, hey, I need you here by my side, because no, she doesn't. She wants to be snuggling the cat and reading her book and away in her own little universe. You know what I mean? Like she's happy there. And that's been true for most of the people that I end up being with and that I'm attracted to. Super hyper independent, badass women who know who the fuck they are. And actually, that's the best kind of person to be partnered with, because they choose you. They don't need you. You know what I mean? And so, but every once in a while, you want to hear a slight "I need you" phrase, like, and so it was, like, Erica's been with me for 12 years now, so she's really good at the, like, she calls me hot pants and, like, loves to talk about my nothing little booty, and stuff like that. But she's, or like I talk about on almost every episode, she likes to flash me, but she doesn't want anyone to come around and do anything about it.
Right.
It's just for effect. But yeah, I think it is interesting. I will say, growing up in a cult, it was the big shift. The thing I'm most proud of is that I was able to come out of that space. And I think even growing up in that space and having a dad that was a missionary and understood that there were, like, other ways of thinking about the world, that I could, like, that just because I thought something didn't mean the other person thought it. And it helped me to, like that was the one pro of being a missionary kid, is that you at least understood that there's a world out there where there are all kinds of people with different religious and non-religious perspectives, and they have whole cultures that are wrapped around these things. And so it's like they may have never heard the word Jesus, and that's and that's cool. And, like, they have their own their own systems that have been working for millennia. And like, I want to learn about that. And I'm just thankful that was how I was formed as a kid, to be someone that was curious and that asking questions was encouraged. And even though the system that I was raised in wanted to quiet me, I learned from my parents that questions were okay and that I could keep asking questions. And that made me a curious human who understood that not everyone worked the same way. And I think that perspective and being able to bring that to my relationship coaching has been so big, because so many times people come in and say, well, this is the way they feel, or this is the way they're acting, so it must mean they feel this way. And I was like, have you asked them?
Right.
Have we gotten into this? Like, it might not be an answer you want to hear, but we need to ask. You need to ask questions about where they're coming from and not assume.
Because there's so many different motivations and thought process and like goals that could be motivating a single action. Like,
absolutely,
people can present outwardly the same behavior but be doing it for entirely different reasons. And that is very much like a thing where, like, everybody is having their own internal experience and they're so distinct from each other that you have to. This is a thing that I came up because one of the vices that I have of mine is I love listening to people read Reddit stories. I love, like, people.
Me too. Oh my God, it's one of my favorite things.
r/relationships. There are like 6 different podcasts I subscribe to. Where I love people
Smosh.
talking about, like,
I don't know why I love
Smosh. I'm glad all of us are on the same page, because I too go down TikTok rabbit holes of listening to Reddit people reading Reddit stories on their TikToks, and I'm like,
for sure.
Oh my God. Okay.
I love just being in my kitchen and, like, making food and being like people breaking down the "Am I the assholes?" or whatever, and being and I'm like, this is where I thrive. When they start talking about freaking, like, toxic wedding stories, and was like, I'm so glad I'm not a part of this, but I want to know everything about it.
Literally. So pause really quick. We need to send you the thread that Jess shared with me earlier this morning about the groomsmen and their absolute disaster of a bachelor party.
Oh,
yes.
No.
I will send it to you.
You're on Threads,
I will
right,
send it to you.
Please do.
Okay,
Sorry?
as long as you're on Threads. As long as you're on Threads, we can send
I'm
it
not
to you.
on Threads.
I will send it to you, but I will send it to you on Discord.
Okay,
that works.
Yeah, you might have to screenshot it because I've sent Threads things to people who aren't on Threads, and sometimes they can't open them.
I'll do both.
Okay,
we'll get it covered.
The short story is that a bunch of men decided to go on a bachelor cruise and started planning, in quotes, didn't actually plan anything, and it was a shit show. Because straight men,
right?
And there's one guy who was on a budget who actually, and I questioning whether or not he's straight right now because he's the one that everyone's going, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Where are we going? What is happening?
For guidance.
Yeah.
And I was like, I told Kit, I was like, I've just been around too many competent queer men now. Like, it's at this point, I have a very different perspective on what men can do.
But when it comes to that, there was a story. Oh God, I'm losing what I was thinking about before. It's slipping away from me. There's so many stories where it's like somebody behaving in a certain way because they assume XYZ behavior from their partner or their family member or whatever.
Yes.
Or like somebody behaving in a certain way because they assume that like, oh, this is fine. Whatever I just did is fine. And needing to get an outside perspective of like, no, that's insane what you just did. Like, what are you talking about? But also there's an element when it comes to relationships. The thread's coming back to me. The train is pulling back in the station. I remember now. Talking about relationships specifically, where there was a story someone was talking about like how they fundamentally viewed their relationship with their partner. They had a wife and there was this guy had a wife and a couple of children. And he's like, in my family, my children are more important to me than my relationship with my wife. Like, I prioritize my children's well-being over the health of my relationship with my partner. And the wife had a fundamentally different view of relationships. And she was like, no, our relationship is more important to me than our children and their well-being. Like, I need to be good with you more than I need them to be okay.
Interesting.
And this was, to me, like, a fundamental breakdown of like the concept of what a relationship is between these people. And I'm sitting there with my friend and my roommate, and we're just like on the couch and we're talking about this because I'm like, this is wild and I need to tell you about this. And I'm like, in that conversation, I was like, how have they never had this kind of conversation?
That's literally what I was
right?
thinking.
We don't have children. Like, we're just talking about somebody else's hypothetical children. And how is this a conversation that you never had before you got married, before you had kids?
Right?
Like, how is this something that's just never come up in the course of your relationship? Did you just assume fundamentally that your belief and experience about what the priority was in what a plan and all of that was for this relationship was universal? You believed everyone was on the same page. And then
you guys weren't even in the same books, let alone the same library.
Straight up. Seriously. And then something happened where they had to confront this fundamental difference of belief. And it ruined their relationship because, they were on completely different pages and their behavior is being driven by these very disparate beliefs. And it's causing them to be in these conflicts and these fights all the time because he's prioritizing going to their daughter's like middle school graduation over like helping her out with her work thing. And she's pissed about that because she thinks that he should be prioritizing her over their kids. And it's like, how have you not had this conversation? How have you not gotten here? And it is a thing that I think
that's wild. That just blows my mind.
I think that to a certain point, that is like it's a downfall to falling into the least common denominator of like societal representation. Like if you were like
it is
a cisgender person in a heterosexual relationship, you think because society has modeled those relationships so much and they're so like ubiquitous, you think you know what that relationship is like and how it's going to play out. And so you maybe don't have those conversations because you just assume that everyone comes pre-programmed with the roadmap of how this is going to work. So you don't talk to your partner about it. And I do think that's one of the strengths of a queer relationship is like you kind of do have to figure out where you're both coming from with this and how it works for you more. Because there isn't that automatically assumption of reciprocation?
Yeah. I literally say in everything you just said, it starts with me saying, and this is why I love that I'm queer.
Yeah.
Because it kept me having these conversations before ending up in this kind of scenario. Like I talk about that all the time. Like the biggest gift of being queer means that these conversations happened early.
Yeah.
You know? And so it kept me from investing this much. And like heteronormativity is such a like honestly, like it screws people over all the time because they've been given a formula. They've been given a formula, and there's a lot of assuming in that formula. A lot.
And the like to even go a little to take that next step of how have you not had these conversations about just your relationship? It also then takes the next deep dive of how do we talk about sex within our relationship? If we're not talking about something as simple as how are we approaching our relationship? Like, what do we mean to each other? Like, are we going to be because I've heard a couple of different things about this where you have like parenting coaches where like they'll be coaching their clients on, instead of saying don't talk to your mom that way, say don't talk to my spouse that way, because now it's us. It's not, and I'm not saying it's us against the kids, but at the same time, it's like, no. I chose them first. You are the byproduct of my relationship with them. They were here first. So you are the offspring. You are the offspring of us. We had to come together in terms of literally everything, specifically sexually, in order to have you get here. So if you are going to talk to my wife that way, we're going to have a problem, because now not only do you have a problem with your mother, now you also have a problem with me, because I am going to defend her by saying, no, that is my wife. You are going to respect her as the adult in this situation, which means that you are also going to respect me as the second adult in this situation. First and foremost, we are the adults. Then we are your parents, because we are a united front as to how you should be approaching us in this situation. And the thing is, I was like, oh, that's a really interesting way to come to a parenting situation. It's also the same when you come to a sexual situation where it's like, okay, hold on. Are we going to have a conversation about what we are expecting out of this situation? Are we going into it just to get the penis in the vagina to get an orgasm and then we're done? Like it's a 10-minute ordeal and then we're out. Or are we actually going to be coming into this instant where we want to build a connection? We want to take a moment to initiate intimacy with each other that just so happened to be naked.
Well, I think the thing that I would emphasize is like, if you start with conversations, it will become the norm. The norm is to communicate. The norm is to talk through new feelings, new thoughts, new ways of being, new identities. And that will never be a threat to your relationship because you're able to talk about them early on. Like the fact that I'm polyamorous, like the first moment I had that word, within a couple days, me and Erica were talking about it. Was it scary? Yes. But because we had a norm of talking about how we process and feel about things, it made it easier and it made it understandable and like right away it was the norm for us to talk about this thing that some people spend years holding inside before they talk to their partner about, which is wild to me. Like, because right away I was like, oh no, I have to talk to Erica about this.
It can be so difficult to overcome that initial silence because these topics are very personal things. And they're so different from everybody, and they are so vulnerable because what you are presenting to somebody else is a need. And sometimes expressing to someone that, like, I have this need that I'm hoping that you fulfill can be a very scary thing, because there is always the reaction of like, well, what if they don't want to? What if they make you feel bad or unsafe or wrong in some way? for having this desire or this need. And this is, again, emblematic of just how my brain works. There is a thing in engineering and physics called static versus kinetic friction, where it takes more force to get something that is still moving than it takes to get something that is already moving, continuing to move.
Yes.
Static friction, the friction to begin movement is greater than the friction you have to overcome if something's already moving.
Like
and
a train.
So if you have, like a train, like so many things, if you have that silence, that friction of silence that has been going on for so long, and the longer it goes on, the more it builds, and the harder it is to overcome it because so many parts of your life are already sort of defined. And vocalizing a change in any definition can have really big sweeping ramifications to everything else. Like the second that you redefine yourself, even in a small way, depending on where you are in your life, that can mean so much. That can mean changing so much about how you go about things.
We were only a month into our marriage when I realized I was poly. That was scary. That was...
Yeah, because again, that has big sweeping ramifications for your relationship. And also, like, you're now living with this person. You're legally tied to this person. Like, I don't know if you share taxes with them or whatever, but there's like, there's
my mother-in-law's in the other room doing our taxes right now. She's literally one room over listening to us talk about sex on a podcast while she's working on our taxes. I feel very blessed. But she, that I agree. I think, gosh, I love that. I love that analogy of kinetic versus, you said that again?
Static friction. Yeah.
Static friction. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I feel like because we were already used to having conversations over just a thought or just an experience, it meant that it wasn't I look back on that and it did feel like a big deal, but it wasn't as big a deal as it is for so many others, because we spent 4 years in that space of like, this is a thing that I just was able to put a name to, but I don't know what I want to do about it. I know that it acknowledges the connections I've had in the past and that it gives a name to it, and that helps. You know what I mean? And it kind of helps me understand myself a little better. But I'm deeply in love with you. That there's nothing that will change that, or that can change that. And so, we're in a monogamous marriage. We'll just keep talking. As long as we can keep having this conversation and keep processing together, then I'm good. And so we spent years, and honestly, my slow processing was helpful for Erica when it came to that instance, because that was not something anyone should ever move quickly on.
No, and also she likely didn't feel blindsided because you'd been having these conversations for a while. So when the eventual resolution came of like what this all means, it made sense.
Yeah, and it was a decision we were making together. And she said, I remember she's the one that made me feel like it wasn't a big deal. She was the one that said, "Oh, I know what that is." I was like, "I'd never heard this before." "What? You have friends that are poly? I didn't know this was a thing." And she was like, "Oh yeah." And she went to Scripps, women's very queer college in Southern California. And so like we knew
love
things.
A queer college in Southern California. That's where a lot of things are being figured out.
Yeah, when you said San Francisco, I was like, and you started describing the kind of experience you had, I was like, yeah, that basically sounds like Erica's schooling. So she got she got some education that I didn't get in college at a small community college, in a red county. And so there's just a lot of things that every now and then less than a year into us dating, she asked me if I was trans, and I was so not ready for that question. Or ready to even think about that, right? So it's just interesting, like, when it comes down to like certain subjects, Erica does like, because she's a little more of a black and white thinker, is what I like to say, just to kind of simplify explaining autism. Her way of expressing autism. She will sometimes like need a more defined thing than a what's the term? Existential, like something that's like a little bit more out there. So like say esoteric, yeah. Like if I had like a crush, or I have a friend where it feels like there's chemistry brewing, and we're in a closed relationship. So say I have a friend that there's chemistry brewing, I still want her to be aware of it and to know that that's something that I'm processing. But sometimes I don't want to make her nervous or worried,
Right.
you know. But Jana is a little bit more comfortable with me doing those kinds of processings with her. So sometimes I'll go like, okay, so this is something that I need to verbally process out loud about how we come together to have this conversation so that it's not too overwhelming.
Yeah.
But that's just, I don't know. Those are nitty gritty truths, but they're things that we've come to understand about each other in relationship with each other. But I think you're right. I think sometimes there are things that are just kind of set in stone, and there are things that I've felt like I don't see us adding anyone else into this dynamic of like equal partnership with the three of us. That feels very solid, very good. I can't imagine that, but I can imagine having like other connections that are less responsible for like the joy of like of keeping things together.
Having like different hierarchies of relationship where there's like your closer personal ones, and then there's ones that are
I know hierarchy isn't inherently bad, but sometimes I have a hard time with the term hierarchy.
Sure.
So for me, I kind of think about the way the universe functions. Like it's like, who are my sun and moon and stars, and like just kind of like thinking about the balance of the universe.
So like, who are your personal planets versus who are your intermediary planets versus who are your outer planets?
Yeah.
I wanted to do electron orbitals, but that also sounded way too niche, and like I don't want to really pigeonhole myself in this conversation. Like,
well, now you can
already expressed.
Now you can. Let's go.
Like, because it's the same thing. It's like it's different distances of orbit, essentially. Yeah.
I like that nerdy way of describing love and connection and needs. I think it's a beautiful way to describe it. Honestly, like there's such a when I'm talking to people who've experienced more of a heteronormative, relationship, and baseline for the majority of their lives, and now they're either coming out as queer or coming out or figuring out they might want to explore but stay partnered with their primary partner. It's there's so much mind altering, mind breaking things that happen in that process, because they're like, wait, but, and one of the things that I think we often say when we're talking to someone that we love is like, you're my world. And it's like, okay, if that's a phrase we're going to use, can we expand beyond that? Can we talk about the universe? What is your universe? Like, who is in your universe? Because I talk to people often about, I'm like, listen, like, you have your best friend that you have to go to, like, you have to call up when certain kinds of things happen. You have your friend that will get coffee with you once a month. You have your mom that's like essential to whatever hardships you're going through. There's just certain people in your orbit that are all important, and like this nuclear family bullshit is messing up your like support needs.
Yeah. I think this really harkens back to like the conversation Kit and I were having before, not just about like different types of attraction, but different types of intimacy.
Yes.
And like where you're getting that intimacy, that need fulfilled from. And it can be in different ways. And the idea that like one person has to fulfill all of your emotional, spiritual, intellectual, physical needs is really toxic, because it is so much pressure to put on a single person. And it's so like, it can be damaging for both of you, because if you're trying to make this one person fit into every gap in your life and they just fundamentally don't, but you're being told this narrative that you should be satisfied with that. That can be really damaging. And then also, for them, they can feel like a bad partner or a bad friend or a bad whatever, because the expectation is that they are filling all of those gaps in your life. And if they can't do that for whatever reason, then that comes with a lot of judgment and guilt. And there needs to be that lessening of expectation where it's like, not every single one of your basic needs needs to be met by the same person, because like, it's actually great to have, like you said, an orbit, a universe of different people because then everyone's generally more happy.
Well, and also if someone falls to like isn't able to provide the support that they normally provide, someone else will fill the gap. You know,
for sure.
And it doesn't feel like the end. You know, it doesn't feel like everything is falling down around me. You know, like the whole eggs in one basket idea.
Right.
And that's kind of the way that
I
was just gonna say that's how I approach all relationships, not just romantic or, you know, intimate relationships. I approach my career relationships that way too.
For sure. And that gets, when you're talking about that from like a sexuality standpoint, like talking about the sex of it all, because I think that is the direction that Kit is wanting to sort of narrow down on, is like how there's these nuances affect everything regarding that. There is a lot of, because it is sort of like inherently can be a much more vulnerable thing and can be a much more like personal thing, that idea can be a real big make or break for somebody. And also it can be a big source of distress for an individual. Because like your experience, I'm sure, with like discovering your poly and having to navigate the concept of like this attraction that you may have to other people, like I'm certain that came at some point with this sense of guilt that maybe you shouldn't feel that way because you had a partner. And on the other side of that, like, which is great that you were able to communicate, because that's the ideal situation, is like, yeah, I talked to my partner about it and we came to a mutual understanding. Yay, communication. Where the alternative of that is people have that feeling where they're like, oh, I have this partner who's fulfilling my sexual needs or my emotional needs, whatever. But there's this other person who is fulfilling some needs I didn't know I had. And I am just going to indulge in that without talking to my other partner. I'm not going to tell my partner about this. I'm just going to indulge in these because suddenly I'm feeling fulfilled in this way that I wasn't previously.
Yeah.
And that sucks because, like, not because it sucks on multiple levels. It's like, it sucks that you kind of were under this delusion that you didn't have these needs and that you were content with this, and then suddenly realizing you have them, and then just choosing to shake up the entire bedrock of your life by acting in a way that dishonors the agreement you made with your partner and the expectations you made with your partner. And then there's also like a dissonance that often comes with like people experience things in a sexual setting that do something for them in a way that they didn't expect or anticipate, or the way that they think is acceptable, maybe. Like a lot of people have like a lot of internalized shame about freaking what their kinks are or whatever. There's also a really great thing where people process this. This is an entire tangent that I'm spinning off on now, because I was seeing somebody having this discourse about how like you can see sometimes in philosophers when they're talking about fundamental aspects of humanity where they're just not processing what their fetish is. Where it's like some dude in like 1600 said that like all men crave dominance and all women crave submission. And it's like, bro, you do not understand that this is not a universal experience, A. And also like, this is just your fetish that you are expressing as human, as like a fundamental aspect of human creation, because you don't know how to process it as like just a thing you're into, and maybe have shame with the idea that this is a thing you're into. So you have to rationalize it as this is something all people must want. And it's like, that, not necessarily, dude. We didn't have that language yet in your time, and I get that, but like, wowzers. It's a thing that's rippled into the modern day, where there's very much like there are a lot of like structures in the world that are built on certain ideas, where it's like, is this just like, did you just think that your kink was universal?
Yes.
Did you assume that was like what everyone was into? And so like fundamentally this must be how the world works.
This podcast is hosted by me, Kit Sargent, co-hosted and produced by Jess Grace Garcia of Springward Productions, and the theme music is by Brian Smith of Holy Holy Music Productions. If you could do us a huge favor and please like, follow, comment, share, do all of the things on all of the socials. You could follow the podcast on Instagram @_queer.consciousness for all the latest episodes, as well as any other exciting news. When you're listening on Spotify, please leave a 5-star rating and use the comment box for anything you'd like us to talk about. When you're listening to Apple Podcasts, please leave a comment and a 5-star rating. If you'd like to be on the podcast, send a message to queerconsciousnesspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/queerconsciousnesspodcast. We are trying to grow as organically as possible, and this helps other like-minded people who want to empower and encourage others on their journey. So until next time, remember to stand in your truth and know that you are worthy, just as you are. Hey friend, just wanted to take a quick second to remind you that if you or someone you know is struggling and don't know where to turn, the trained volunteers at the LGBT National Hotline are here to help. Because sometimes the strongest thing to do is to ask for help. The National Hotline phone number is 888-843-4564. And if you want to check out the other things that they have available for them to help you with, you can check out the lgbthotline.org in order to be able to see all of the services that they offer in order to help our community.